Hey, what's up? It's Thune. Today I wanted to talk about something that has been popping up in the community a lot recently. If you look like Reddit, Twitter, Jack made this really good article and video last week talking about healing in Dragonflight, how it's not fun, and like how many issues that healing has currently. And I wanted to expand on that a little bit. So, uh, how like I kind of want to first cover how we got here. So throughout beta, we obviously got the talent tree revamps, which I think are wonderful. It's cool to change talents. It's cool to have like a lot of different options for things. Unfortunately, healers got like a lot more than what we previously ever had. So not only just additional cooldowns that we can pick up now, but also just like new combinations of spells that previously weren't accessible. So a Resto Druid can take Germination and Flourish, whereas those two talents in Shadowlands were like fighting against each other. You couldn't take both at the same time. And every healer kind of has uh, examples of this. So that's one way that healers have been power crept in Dragonflight. We also have tier sets, and while every single tier set isn't just like bonkers insane, most of them are between like 8 to 15% healing increase, roughly. Um, and even like the rest of Shaman one that notoriously I hate and it isn't very good, it's still a sizable healing increase. So healers kind of came out of the gate like guns blazing, really, really, really powerful. And Blizzard ended up agreeing. So really late in beta, they were like, okay, we agree. So we're going to buff player HP and buff mob damage by 40% to kind of slow healing down a little bit. It's going to take you longer to top health bars, right? And they said when damage mitigation abilities and healing are too strong relative to player health, the only way to threaten players is to make enemy damage very high and spiky. And the important part is the very high and spiky damage. So if you think of like Razageth, for example, Razageth P1 is probably the spikiest damage I've ever seen ever. I had to reroll for Evoker on that fight. I was like 408 item level when we first killed it, and if I was not literally at 100% HP, the times when I didn't have my Obsidian Scales, I could literally get one shot if I wasn't like underneath the boss's ass. Okay, so the damage was very spiky, but the weird thing is like we could just top people. So that's like I'll show you a video of Razageth P1 in a little bit. And all the links to these is going to be down below as well, if in case you want to like go and check it out yourself. Um, but like the damage is still really high and spiky, and the healing is also very high and spiky. And anything that's after your evoker press Spirit Bloom is just going into overhealing, which isn't fun. So they fixed that in 10.1, right? No, they buffed player health and mob damage by an additional 25%. They actually came back and said later on, and I think it was the interview with Max, maybe, that they were like, we actually realized that like our data was like way off, and we needed to buff player health by like 70% or something in late beta. But they were like, but that was like way too big of a change to do all at once. So we're like, okay, we'll bite the bullet and we'll do it kind of like in two different parts. That's fine. If that fixed it, I'd be okay with that. The issue is it feels the exact same as it did in 10.1, right? I feel like nothing has changed. Our health has gone up drastically, but the healing still feels really spiky, and damage is still spiky as ever. So this is Rashok, for example. Oops. And this is the damage pattern of Rashok. So it's not unexpected. Rashok has these really big leaps, and or the slams or whatever, and then the intermission, both of which do like really big group damage, right? And this is kind of the healing fight of the tier, along with Magma Axe. But it's not like unexpected to see these like spiky damage patterns, right? And like the spiky damage patterns aren't unheard of. If you think back to like Lords of Dread, which is like only 2 raids ago now at this point, in Sepulchre, Lords of Dread had like a similar looking damage pattern where every 2 minutes you got absolutely just rammed, and then you would trade healing cooldowns there, and then afterwards you would kind of chill for a little bit and just kind of heal the damage that happened. The difference here is that these are happening every 40 seconds, okay? So it's a little bit harder to trade healing cooldowns. And if you look at healing, we're still doing 30% overhealing for healing. And this was 2 months ago at this point, right? This other log, this was May 31st, so this is over 2 months ago. This wasn't even that long after progression. This may have even been this guild's first kill, I'm not sure. Where the Evoker did 246k HPS and is still at 28% overhealing, right? The Priest is at 37%. That's insane, right? And look at the damage pattern. It's really spiky. So I was like, okay, what other fights are like this? Well, Ziskarn. I bet you didn't really expect that one, because I didn't. Ziskarn has these like knockbacks, which do a little bit of damage, but like when I saw this, I was shocked to see how spiky the damage is, because it feels like if you're a healer on Ziskarn, it feels like everyone's always kind of just taking damage, especially the people that have the lines on them or whatever. Those players are obviously taking damage, but it feels just like damage is always happening. And then I looked at this and I was like, really? Huh, okay. And again, this is every 40 seconds, so the damage pattern is not even that different from Rashok. Magmarax is evened out a little bit, but if you want to go back and compare it to Sludge Fist, so like I said earlier, it made sense for Rashok to have these like big peaks and valleys, right? Because Rashok has this big slam. Where's the pillar charge, right? You have to look for it. It was like 1 minute in, I remember, just from playing the fight or whatever. It's this. That's the pillar charge. You can't even tell. It's hard to tell where the large damage events happen, because it's so even across the board. And it's not like there weren't these large damage events. They were happening all throughout the fight. That's what I loved about Sludge Fist. But none of those damage events were like lethal from 100% health, like they kind of are now. So it's proof that they can still have this spiky damage pattern and not just one-shot you from 100%, basically. Like you can challenge players at 70% HP and still be healable, instead of, Rashok, where we're at 30% overhealing because everyone used everything on the 30-second window, and then it's just all went into overhealing. If you go back to the Sludge Fist, this was week 1, by the way, and our highest overhealing was 15%, where we'd 5 healed, and 4 healers are sub 10% overhealing, right? Now, Sludge Fist was a little bit of an anomaly, but that's insane, right? Like, and if you also want to compare the HPS number to like what the DPS are doing at the time, because this has been shockingly similar for many expansions now. So healers are almost always stronger than DPS players if you just look at like their throughput. It's like usually 120 to 130% like stronger, or they do 130% of the throughput of what a DPS player does. So you can take, let's open a calculator real quick. You can take the healing number, so 9,500 over the DPS number, 7,500, 1.26. Okay, so that means they're like 120% 126% roughly more throughput than what a DPS player is doing, which is fine. You have 4 healers, maybe 5 healers, so they should be a little bit more powerful, right? If you compare that to this, 200k to 130k, 123k, I closed it, so 200,000 over 130,000. 1.53. That's a big number. You want to compare that to this Evoker log? Who, this is not farm, by the way. This was like one of their first kills. It's May 31st. 246,000. Oops. Over 125,000. Almost double, right? Like, and that's why everyone keeps saying healers are too powerful. Is because like we are way more powerful than what we have been in the past. And you can do this trick with like literally almost any fight that you have a log 2 in the past. It's usually between like 1.2 to 1.3 is what healers are usually at compared to DPS players. So just a fun trick if you want to go and see how overpowered we are now. Zenesh, just another example of what damage patterns looked like on a few fights. This one was like just a consistent fight overall, so it's not like weird to see this, but like there wasn't any like large damage events is what I'm trying to say. But was still fun to heal. And then this is Shadhar. So Shadhar, you could definitely see these like spiky patterns a little bit more than Sludge Fist, for example. But like it's still pretty consistent. And if you look at like Overhealing, oh, this is like late farm, I guess. But still funny to compare the HPS number, which I'm going to talk about in a second. The HPS number of Nyalotha, so 229k compared to 246k, and this was with this is with 100% crit rating, by the way, because of corruption. This is really, really late farm. I'll show you the well, actually we can just go to that now. So this was Shadhar the Insatiable, the log we just looked at, and just look at the health bars, right?
At 9. We're about to push 2.
So whenever this blob hits the
okay.
person, they're going to take some damage.
This is good.
So you're trying to run away to like spread it out a little bit. So that damage event, it was like not like insignificant, right? But watch how long it takes for them to like top themselves afterwards, right? Look at the health bars move. If you had an Evoker in this raid, they press Spirit Bloom and everyone's topped. Or they press like Emerald Communion, like, oh, there's a damage event? What damage event, right? And the other thing that's like funny to compare is like this is the world first kill right before Nazoth dies, right? Mavi is at 114k HPS. The Paladin is 103k, 97k, 97k. Fired Up has a 532k HP as a mage. We currently have 600k HP and are doing like more than double that. If you did 100k HPS currently, you're getting like shit on, like not only gray parsing, but like getting kicked out of your guild, right? That's how like much lower the HPS number was. And Nazoth wasn't a fight that had 0 damage. It had damage kind of throughout the entire fight. It was just a little bit longer than like Shadhar was, for example. But the funny thing is comparing like that Shadhar clip and compare it to like Razageth. So these bombs are about to go out. And whenever they explode, so they're inside of an AMZ, mind you. 50%. Now I'm gonna click play and then pause it immediately, like 1 frame, and watch the health bars. 1 frame, they jumped up like 30% HP across the entire raid, and then like 1 more frame, everyone except for Roger is healthy. It took 3 seconds for their group to top the raid after a damage event. Okay, I don't care what healing cooldown you use. That better have been like a 10-minute healing cooldown, right? Like, if you can just like yo-yo health bars like that. And spoiler, it was reversion, by the way. It wasn't even a healing cooldown. It was just them pressing their normal healing buttons. And this isn't just a flame at like Evokers, by the way. Literally any healing class can do this right now. Even Resto Shaman. Don't hurt me, please. And you look at like Rashok. Let's look at there's an intermission here. Or wait, where was the start?
500.
Okay, here's the start of the intermission, right? And just watch the health bars and watch how much they're healing. Okay? They come in at 180k, 160k, 155k, 130k. But yeah, watch the health bars. Like, each of those ticks is doing 15, maybe 20% of their health every single tick. And like, considering that, they're pretty fucking healthy throughout this entire phase, right?
Okay.
Now, they probably committed some healing cooldowns to that, I'm sure. But they ended at 190k, 170k, 177k, 175k, 160k, right? And they're chilling right now. Like, everyone's at 100% HP, no one's in danger, next slam can come out. They could use literally nothing on the slam, and no one's going to die. Compare that to Sludge Fist. So this is the... Let's go back to one of these. Okay. So this is the world first Sludge Fist kill. Like I showed you earlier, the damage pattern looked really even, right? And just watch the health bars. It doesn't feel even.
Good. Eric.
Watch rubble.
Like, you could see that health chunk down, right? If you go back just before it. Most of their raid is at like 50 to 60k HP. Look at the health. Boom. And then watch how long it takes for them to heal it back up.
Yeah, I see.
I've exiled in a couple seconds.
Okay, chain slam. Get ready to bob.
Keep flight.
Remember, it took 3 seconds for an evoker to just full heal the raid from 50%. 3 seconds.
Lust.
Res me.
Relust for him.
Whereas they're chilling right now.
Okay, you guys are gonna get.
And then, so the roar happens, another 50% health hit. And watch how slow it takes them to heal back up.
One stomp here.
And they're going to, yeah, they'll come back out. And so, if you are a Mythic Plus player, I'll keep killing it just a little bit.
You get in the barrier now.
So pretend you're on Forge Master right now, okay? Your hunter's health bar looks like this on Forge Master. He has the little orange circle around him. If you're a healer, you are using lay on hands on that man because he will get one shot, even if he uses a defensive. On like a 25, Podra would be dead on Forge Master right now because it's so spiky. The damage is so high for the damage events, and then there's nothing in between. Look, he's inside barrier. Don't get me wrong, but this pillar slam, this is the last pillar slam of the fight. It's the highest damage portion of the fight that there is. And even though he's in a barrier, you know, he's injured, don't get me wrong, but he's like fine. Like it's not like he just died and he wasn't topped. And that's the big difference between healing in the past versus healing now. Is now if you go into a damage event and someone's not at, like, if they're at 70% HP, they're probably just dead, and that feels horrible. It's a battle of like trying to keep player health bars at 100% rather than just keeping people alive, which is what healing has been for years now, and that's why it feels so bad. Let's see, did I miss anything that I wanted to talk about? Yeah, healing CDs and stuff as well. Like, we have access to way more healing cooldowns that we never have before. I touched on the talents and stuff previously, but the talent trees give healers way more power than Blizzard realized. And going back to like the very high and spiky damage, well, it's still really high and spiky, and it does not feel good. I would much rather have these damage events be lowered and increase the amount of damage that like just persists throughout the fight, so that, because like Sludge Fist, like you just saw that damage event happen. Can you see it on this graph? You can see the Rashok slams very clearly, and you can't see it on Sludge Fist at all. And yeah, like I said earlier, like you can go back and like just confirm with a simple like check of the eyes, like healers are way more powerful than we've ever been before. But if you nerf us again, then Mythic Plus feels even worse than what it does right now. So I think there needs to be like a larger look at like what is happening with healing. My wish is for them to like nerf the spiky damage in conjunction with like nerfing healers. I don't want to be in like a healing spreadsheet simulator where you just plug all your cooldowns into a spreadsheet and then that solves healing for you. I want to like actually heal between damage events again, like Sludge Fist, like Xanesh, like Shadhar, Nazoth, and all the other fights that were really fun to heal before. Even Lords of Dread. Lords of Dread had like, is this what this is? Yeah, Lords of Dread, 2 minutes, had really high spikes, but there's stuff to heal in between that aren't going to one-shot you, right? And that's what I want back, is I want, like, this damage back so that, healing cooldowns are fine to be powerful if they're on a long cooldown. Right now, like, we have access to so many healing cooldowns that you can't even fit all of them in for damage events because, yeah, every healer has, like, 4 cooldowns now. So yeah, I want them to take a look at healing. It really sucks that it's been like this even after 2 attempted fixes. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about today. Let me know whatever you think about it. Curious to hear what like other healers think. I know I've had a few friends quit, like simply quit WoW because they don't find it fun anymore. So yeah, I will catch you guys later. Thanks.